This time on Holy Ghost Notes.
Drums are a sin.
Wow.
Careful, Matt. We might lose some listeners here.
I'm not changing diapers.
I feel like something bad's gonna happen.
My gosh, that guy should be fired immediately.
You're getting exploited, dude.
Hi, this is Matt and Tim. Welcome to Holy Ghost Notes. Tim, how you doing?
Hey, I'm good. How are you doing?
It's been a while. It's been busy.
I know. We squeezed in a bunch of episodes, and so there's been a lot of time between the last the last recording and this one. A lot has happened,
true.
right?
That's what happened. So it's not that we didn't. It's not that we avoided episodes. We just consolidated our recordings and then waited a while until the next one.
That's kind of how it worked.
So you've been on vacation. What's it like going on vacation and then coming back to the chaos?
Yeah. Vacation was nice. I definitely paid for it when I got back. Finally, this week, I feel like it's kind of slowed down after a week and a half of, crunch time, getting caught up and getting everything back on track. Finally a little bit more relaxed. So I'm feeling good.
When you're on vacation, are you the kind of person who first thing in the morning and last thing at night when things are calm, you're checking work emails, or are you able to just clock off completely?
I'm the type of person where if I have my phone nearby, I will see the email.
Okay.
And I will gauge whether it's response worthy or I'm usually keeping in the loop, because otherwise if I wait an entire day, even my email is so chock full of emails that it's actually more overwhelming and I have more of a reason to avoid it. Thankfully I was pretty caught up on emails. I had a number of things to respond to that I kind of pushed off, but everything urgent I knew about. I kind of saw what was going on with the team, which is not really what I should be doing on vacation, but saved me a little bit of heartache, I think, a little bit of stress.
When you got back?
When I got back and when I was there, just not knowing where certain things, what was happening, what certain projects, the status of certain projects. And I'm in a valuable position, but also an unfortunate position where there are certain things that only I can do in the company. And so on the off chance that it came down where I was needed for one of those things, I just, wanted to be somewhat available. But for the most part, this was a fun vacation. Typically I like going and sightseeing and seeing new places. I love traveling around the world. But with a 3-year-old, that's just not ideal or possible in a lot of cases. So this was a nice change of pace. We just went to the beach and we were on the beach all day or in the pool. And
nice.
So definitely missing the pool. It was one of those.
Are you a mountain guy or are you a beach guy?
I am a mountain guy, actually. I am.
Okay.
I'm not a huge fan of the beach, but like I said, with a child, the beach is very easy because you just kind of let them play in the sand, and you can sit in a chair, read a book. Doesn't require too much attention, whereas on a mountain, it'd be a little bit more chasing around and making sure that he doesn't touch that snake. Or, I might enjoy it myself a lot, but it's a different story. At some point, when he's a little older, we'll start doing those things. But
so growing up, I have 7 siblings, and I remember my mom saying that camping was the opposite of a vacation for her and my dad.
Yep.
It couldn't be more opposite of a vacation than being the opposite of a vacation. Camping was just so much work for what it was worth. For her and my dad. But for us kids, it's like the thing that stands out about being a kid.
Yeah, sure.
We would take our BMX bikes. We'd go to this place called Ricketts Glen and a couple other campgrounds in Pennsylvania. And a couple of them had BMX tracks. And of course, those are the ones that we would try to revisit. Camping is an exorbitant amount of work for adults who have to take care of kids, but for the kids, that is a lot of fun.
For sure. I love camping growing up too.
The beach, to your point, is just more family friendly. Like you said, your kid can be playing and completely occupied and free from your attention just because of everything going on around him. That's all pretty safe this side of the water. Like, just stay on the sand and in my view, and you're good.
Exactly.
And he could probably be out there all day building sandcastles and stuff.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And
I'm actually going to the beach next week, Tim. I'm going, and I haven't told you about it. So
oh man, which beach are you going to?
It's a good thing we're recording this now. Well, by the time this comes out, I'll be on vacation. I'll be just leaving for vacation. I'm going to I believe we're going to Rehoboth Beach.
Okay.
Have you been there?
I've never been there.
Okay. So for those listening, Rehoboth is a beach. It's a nice, it's a kind of a smaller beach. It's pretty easy to get to from where I live in Pennsylvania. No beach is all that close to here. I live in Lancaster, and so everything's like 3.5 hours away. 3 if you're speeding. 3.5 after you get pulled over.
Yeah.
So a bunch of us are going down, my siblings and their spouses.
Nice.
And we rented an Airbnb or something like that, pretty close to the beach.
Very cool.
So that'll be next week. So I'm just sort of taking notes here, which is why I ask. Like, are you able to not work when you're on vacation? Okay, you're able to actually do some work. All right. And it worked out well for you? Okay, good. So now I know I can just do that just a little here and there, and it'll help me in the end.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's the way to go. I knew too. I mean, so you don't have a kid, so that's the good thing is you can sleep in if you need to. Me, I was like trying to take advantage of as much partying at night as I could with whoever was there partying with me. And then, and I just knew I'm going to be awake at 7:30, 8 o'clock because my son's going to wake me up. So regardless of how I spend the rest of this night, I'm waking up and I'll be up.
Sure. That's always in the back of your mind too.
Like,
I'm going to be up at this time. It's out of my control.
Exactly. But I'm sure for your siblings, it'll be nice. We opted to go with my wife's family. So there were aunts and grandparents there to kind of help. We didn't have we weren't on child patrol all day, every day, so there's a little bit of a break. So I'm sure your siblings kind of feel the same way. There's plenty of uncles really and aunts and grandparents to
absolutely
take the brunt.
That's a smart technique if you think about it. My siblings are like, hey, let's all come together, bring Matt, who can help out and really likes our kids. And we'll willingly take them to the beach, and we can get a little 10-second vacation. I hadn't thought about it that way. Oh, wait a second.
You're getting exploited, dude.
I'm not sure I'm interested in this anymore. Hey, Joanna, do you realize this is happening to you and myself? Because we don't have... I knew that was happening. I'm okay. Okay.
100%. That's why you were invited. But it'll be fun for you because you can hand them back at the end of the day. And say,
I can hand them back at the end.
And you can spoil them too.
Dude, I can hand them back at the end of the hour, man.
That's true, yeah. You can spoil them. Here, take some of these Twizzlers real quick. Here's some Skittles. Go back. Go run around.
Man, I would get in so much trouble if I did that.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
But at the end of the day, you're just the uncle.
That's true. That's true. So, I get to have fun with my nieces and nephews and make a lot of memories with them. I really like being an uncle. I think that there's something to be said about being free from having too much responsibility in your life in the way of like jobs and hobbies and kids are responsibility. and when you don't have that responsibility, you're able to be there and fill and allow space for other people to sort of unload their overload of responsibility. And I've always felt like that as an uncle. Like if my sister needs help because her kids are a nightmare that day, it's like I can help. I'm not going to be able to do all that much. I'm not changing diapers.
That's where you draw the line.
I draw the line. I mean, I'm not changing diapers, but I'll entertain them, and if they start crying, I'll do my best to swaddle and walk around and say whatever I need to say to try to keep things calm. But at the end of the day, like, I think that we all need people like that in our lives, and that's the importance of community.
Yeah.
Is having people whose lives don't look like ours so that they can help us when ours are overwhelming.
That's really true.
Same thing is true of my life, like your life is a lot different than mine, but and so where you might not be able to do something because of the responsibilities in your life, hopefully I can step in and be like, here, let me, help you out. For example, today my friend needs his lawn mowed. Well, after I'm done teaching, I just got a mower and I'm going to go mow it. Dude just moved. He's got 3 kids. One's having surgery next week. He's listening to this podcast. His name's Jeremy. I've never given him a shout out, but he's an avid listener.
Hey, Jeremy.
And he's the kind of person that would do anything for everybody. And man, we need more people like that in our lives. Because when we get the chance to return the favor, then it becomes a friendship that's rooted in just doing something for somebody else that they've already done for you. And that's what he's done our entire friendship. I guess the beach trip is sort of that, but I wish I would have been told that I've been exploited. I just sort of uncovered it. I just discovered this. I didn't actually. You did.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it comes with the territory, I guess, right? I don't have the pleasure of being an uncle yet. I'm the oldest in my family, and my wife is the oldest in hers. So we're still waiting for some nephews and nieces, but sooner or later we'll have that. But it is special, I think, and it's cool that you get to experience that as well. That you have that relationship with your family and your siblings' kids. It's special, It
is special.
So
I really honestly enjoy it, and I hope one of them is a drummer. I'm just waiting. Like there's my brothers put out feelers like, hey, maybe you'd want to give Levi a drum lesson, and I'm like, I'll teach anybody, but they have to want to do it. And then I talked to Levi and I said, Levi, do you want to play drums? No. I'm like, all right, well, sorry, Ben. Like, I'm not going to teach your son. That would not be a whole lot of fun. Then my brother, Jesse, for a little while was like, maybe Everett would want to play. So I'm like, Everett, you want to play drums? No, I want to play soccer. It's like, I don't blame you. Yeah. Jesse, I'm sorry, I'm not going to teach your son. So hopefully one of them becomes a drummer.
Yeah.
That would just be fun to be able to work with a family member, but I guess I am enough drumming for the Griner family.
I guess you took all the talent, all the drum talent that was available.
I made all the noise.
It all. Yeah,
that's the problem.
Yeah,
I made all the noise, man. Screaming babies. No. That dB is like you're only hitting 90 on that one. Drums, you're at 120.
Oh yeah. Oh man, we're so blessed to have the parents that we did to allow us to learn in the ways that we did, because
we really are.
My dad, I don't know. I mean, I know your dad worked on the farm. My dad worked from home as a programmer, and
God bless your dad.
I don't know.
How did he do that?
I was right down the hall with my drums, playing in the middle of the day while he was trying to work.
Earplugs.
I don't know how he did it, but thank you, Dad, if you're listening. It's
ibuprofen. It's like, man, yeah. No, you're so right. If you're a drummer, you're listening to this and you're a drummer, thank the people in your life who are in an earshot of your playing, regardless of how good it is, because they're trying to live their life too. They're trying to listen to the radio station, that song they really like. Yeah, they can't hear it because you're playing.
Yep.
And Netflix show,
take it as an example for yourself when you're getting really annoyed at something that someone's doing. Like I'm just waiting for the karma that will ensue when my son has a recorder that he's supposed to be learning for grade school. And I'm going to have to remind myself, I did this to myself. Man. I did this to my parents.
I deserve this.
I deserve this. I can take it.
It took me a second to realize what you were saying. When you said recorder, I was thinking like recording gear, because that's what you and I talk about. But you actually mean the musical instrument, the recorder.
Like a flute. Like, yes. Basically.
Oh my.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to that.
No. Nope. You're welcome to come over anytime when that starts happening.
I appreciate that, yeah. Would you take him? I'll just give you the kid with the recorder.
Absolutely not. Okay. I'll take the recorder.
No diapers, no recorders. No recorders. I see where the line's being drawn. All right.
Draw the line.
Yes, you got to draw the line sometimes.
That's great.
So, we've got a good one for you guys today. It's good to be back. We were going back and forth on topics over the last few weeks because just like things can change in an instant in life, so can our ideas for topics for this podcast.
Right.
But we've got a couple good ones. One of them, I actually have no idea what it's about. So I'm in for a surprise right along with you guys. But our topics today are sensitivity and legacy. Which one's the drum topic? Who knows? Let's find out. Who knows? Sensitivity. We're gonna jump into sensitivity. Now, when I say sensitivity, I'm actually referring to something very specific, and this is a drum term. And it's being able to be sensitive to the song, being able to give the song what it needs. That can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. In fact, just between the two of us, Matt and myself, we are sensitive to drumming and music in two completely different ways. So we're going to explore that a little bit right now.
Good stuff.
So when I approach a song, and I am not a metal drummer, so keep that in mind as I'm saying this. When I approach a song, what I want it to do is add to what I want the drumming to do is add to the song.
Correct.
I want the drumming to support the parts that need support, to pull back when something else needs to be pushed forward. I want, especially like I think most of you listening, or at least a large percentage, are worship drummers. You play at your churches. So that's a prime example. You as a worship drummer, you need to support the song. When the song needs to build, you're giving it, some kick, floor tom snare. You're building it up. 4 on the floor, but you can't do that the entire time. Otherwise, it's just noise. It's not supporting the song. It's not being sensitive to what the song needs. Sometimes you need to sit back, just play in the pocket, just play something simple. So for me, I come from a pop rock kind of background, and most of the bands that I've played in are within that umbrella of genre, and so they don't require a ton, but usually in every song there's a point where I need to go crazy on the drums to be able to keep up with where this song is going. So being sensitive, that's the explanation for being sensitive. How do you do that? We're going to explore that. Before we explore that, I want to hand it over to Matt and give him a chance to explain what being sensitive to a song means to him. He's got the worship side and then the metal side, and those are both very different. So I'm excited to hear this.
Well, okay. So I'll start off with What a Beautiful Name. I did a cover of a worship song years ago. We were at the Grammys. I told Brooke Frazier from Hillsong about it, who wrote the song. A couple weeks later, I got a text message from Harrison Wood, the drummer for Hillsong. He said, "You got to listen to this interview. Brooke talks about you." So I go listen to this interview, and here she's like asked about the Grammys. What's your favorite moment about the Grammys? I think the question was like, tell me about the Grammys, something in that context. And her response was, well, I got to meet this metal drummer, And he told me he covered What a Beautiful Name. And the host is like, a metal drummer? Like, and fake screaming. And Brooke's like, yeah, like fake screams. And she's like, yeah, but it's not like that. Like, he's an ambassador for a cymbal company. And he travels all across the world, all around the world, and he plays this song. And it's sort of a ministry for him to play this song as a metal drummer. So I had put this song online a while ago. I performed it at PASIC 2017. And like I said, kind of forgot about it. So I went back and looked at it. And it is hilarious to see the comments, because it is either all praise or all condemnation. and not in a spiritual sense. I mean, like, wow, that was really cool drumming, or wow, you are absolutely obnoxiously overplaying the song, right? I thought about that. And I thought, you know what? Both sides could be correct. Two things can be true at the same time.
Yep.
Actually, in life, that's true more times than not. Two things can be true at the same time. It's something we need to remind ourselves of, because yes, I was 100% overplaying this song. In the context of what I was doing and what my goal was, it was 100% appropriate. I was performing at a drum convention, where the spotlight were the drums.
Yep.
The goal at this drum convention is to play hard and show off, actually. Spotlight your abilities. Show off this amazing instrument that we get to play. Yep. Was I overplaying the song? 100%. When it's put on YouTube and there's no context for what I played before this, which was Majoring in the Minors, which is a really fast ABR song, and afterwards, which was Provision, which is a pretty technical, fast, intricate metal song, it does sort of seem a little strange. Like, this looks like a weird church, but my gosh, that guy should be fired immediately for playing that. Right? Like, can you imagine going into church, Tim, Sunday morning, and you hear this amazing song start with that heavy pad, and then you just hear like, you'd be like, okay, that guy is not in his right mind and should be escorted off stage. Immediately, and never allowed to return. Shouldn't even play drums again. So anyway, I just wanted to lead off with that, because that is an experience I've had with people's opinion as it pertains to being sensitive.
Sure.
And playing along with a song that in proper context is really not all that drum heavy. What a Beautiful Name should not have heavy, intricate double bass 16th note patterns. It just shouldn't. And actually, if you've never seen it before, go watch it.
Yeah,
and
it's good.
Think about it in context of church, and you'll say, "Oh my gosh, this is horrific." And then think about it in terms of a drum convention, and you'll say, "I really like this. I think that this is creative, and I think that this took probably a lot of time to write." And it did. Yep. And actually, I was trying to be sensitive to the audience. So that's my point. Who is your audience? If your audience is a church congregation, then the point of them being there is really not about you playing drums. It's actually pretty far from the reason, unless you're me and you go and anywhere you see music, regardless of if it's worship or not, you're watching the drummer. That's just how I was wired. But in most cases, you're going to church to worship God. And so if you're playing drums and you're distracting, we've talked about this a lot. If you're distracting the member of that church from praising God, thinking about God, praying to God, then you're not doing your job. And that requires an enormous amount of sensitivity. So much so that I've actually stepped away from playing drums for church, because I don't feel like I can give it enough time to do the kind of job that it requires. I think it's a big deal, especially as a drummer. In worship drumming today, in this day and age, it's a very important instrument with the way drums are written now in Elevation and Bethel and Hillsong. And I feel like with as many times as people listen to these songs and they get to church and expect them to hear to sound a certain way, if there's any deviation from that, it can be really distracting, which is damaging to the mission of church. So in a church sense, sensitivity is a really fragile place, I feel like, because you're trying to think about the music as it pertains to people singing it to God.
Yeah.
The recipient of their praise, their singing, their worship, as it is God. I mean,
it's not the drums.
We need to think about that a little bit.
Yeah.
And so you're being used, if you believe this in a Christian sense, you're being used as a catalyst for that to happen.
Right.
Wow. That's a sensitive spot to be. And I think we need to take that seriously and really do a good job of helping people find their way into worshiping God. In a metal sense, it couldn't be more opposite. I like metal because it's basically just a big drum solo half the time. You're doing blast beats, you're doing double bass, you're doing polyrhythms, accents. That's why I fell in love with metal in the first place, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I loved how much freedom there was.
Yep.
So, being sensitive to the song, being sensitive to the audience. When I'm writing drum parts, I'm calculating both of those and what they require of me. Baking it all into the cake and then writing drum parts that ultimately I have to be really happy with too.
Mm-hmm.
So the way I see this is, if you're a drummer and you're sitting there thinking right now, okay, am I playing in a way that does the song justice? I think you can ask yourself two questions. One, are you making the song better with your drumming? And two, is this what the audience wants to hear from the song? Not just the drum set, but the song. We've talked about this a lot too. When you walk into a Guitar Center, the drum set's sitting 3 feet in the air with a spotlight on it. Our perception of drums is when you sit down at them, you have to play as fast and as hard as you can. And we have to unravel that a little bit. Take it back, step back, breathe, sit down, and recalculate how we play, because that's not always the case with drumming. Mm-hmm. But when you see a drum set, it's spotlighted up on a riser, and you feel like when you sit, you have to give it everything you've got. I think more of us have to work at just dialing it back and thinking about what's happening in the song versus just thinking about what we're contributing to the song.
Yeah. You said everything that I was hoping you would say just now, but you touched on something really important about sensitivity, and this is pretty much the explanation for sensitivity. Knowing your audience, knowing the purpose of this song, because you gave the perfect example of, What a Beautiful Name, your version and the Hillsong version. Both were extremely sensitive, but for the right audience. If you put out, Matt Greiner, drummer of August Burns Red, put out a video of you playing What a Beautiful Name, and you played it exactly like Harrison Wood played it, people would be like pissed off. They'd be like, what the heck is this? Yeah. I could have just went and watched Harrison do it. Like
better.
And so you were being sensitive because you knew your audience. You knew exactly what they wanted to see, and you knocked it out of the park. You got to remember too that being sensitive to a song, even to a pop song, I'm actually going to use this as an example. Pop country. Nowadays, you see a lot of pop country. I don't listen to it myself, at least not a lot. But to just assume that if someone's being sensitive to a pop country song means they aren't playing things that are hard to play, man, what a misconception.
No kidding.
Because what, like even like I'm going to bring Ash Sohn into it because if he's not brought up in an episode, I feel like something bad's going to happen.
We're doing a disservice.
Ash Sohn is not a solo drummer. He said it himself in our interview with him. He is not a solo drummer. For him to get up on that Zildjian stage was uncomfortable for him because he is not a spotlight guy. We all like that. We all like being in the spotlight. I'm not a solo guy either. It would take me so much more time to construct a drum solo where it's just me and I'm the focus because I've never done that. That's not what I do. So take Ash Sohn. The stuff that he plays is so perfect for what he's playing it for the audience that's going to be listening. But what he plays is actually quite difficult when you break it down. There's a lot of articulation. There's a lot of skill. There's a lot of feel that was developed over years and years of playing. So it's easy to think that, if I scale it back, it's just going to be easy and boring. That's definitely not the case. No. But like Matt said, you have to be sensitive to your audience. That is the most important thing. For me, when I'm given a song to play on for a session and I'm writing a drum part, that is what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking, who is listening to this song? What do they want to hear? What is going to make this song as good as it possibly can be? In most cases, it is not me being the front of the show. But if August Burns Red sent me a song, this wouldn't happen. But if they sent me a song and said, we need you to write drums for this, how I played that pop country song a couple weeks ago would not be the way to write drums for this August Burns Red song. That would be insensitive. So that's really what I'm getting at is, I think as a drummer, one of the best things you can do for your drumming, if your hope is to either get into session work or even play for a band, the best thing you can do for yourself is learn how to be sensitive to what it is you're playing. Learn how to break a song down part by part, section by section, and know exactly what those sections need to not give away the best part of the song right at the very beginning. To not just show off through the entire thing, but to actually listen to parts and see how can I play off of this guitar riff or off of this vocal melody or off of this screaming part, for instance, to really give the song what it needs. I mean, so take a look at like SoundCloud, for instance. Point. I love that SoundCloud does this. SoundCloud, I mean, really anything, most platforms do this at this point, but SoundCloud started where you can actually comment on songs at certain points of the song. And I loved going on SoundCloud and just looking at the comments at like 2 minutes and 12 seconds in where someone's like, dude, this breakdown, fire, like that was I just loved like listening to the songs with the visual of these people's opinions and seeing like, if we got to the breakdown point at Bloodletter, and Matt was still doing this blast beat,
I'd be fired.
It would feel weird. It would be really weird, But the fact that he took his time, that's what people need. That's what people wanted to hear. And as soon as that came in, I can feel this energy. I can like if you saw that live, everybody would be like psyched out of their minds. They would start to feel it, and that's being sensitive. In the same way, when Ash Sohn pulls out that groove and stops on the 2 instead of the 3, and then starts again on the 1, that makes me freak out. I'm like, yes! And I would have never thought to do that. I probably would have just played straight through. But he stopped there and then started again, and it was the most incredible thing. That's what I'm saying. Like if you can teach yourself to be sensitive to the music, to the audience, that is really going to enhance your playing. So how do you do that?
Tim, what do you think about this? I was asked to play a funeral last night. I found out a couple nights ago. So I've been rehearsing for these songs. I'm not all that familiar with the worship songs. It was at my church, as it turns out, and I knew one of the songs. I knew two of the songs. I had played one of them. There were four total. As I was working on these songs, I was referencing YouTube. On YouTube, you can search for a song, and you could add the words drum tutorial. You can then find how to play that song, in most cases, if it's a popular enough worship song. I don't know about other songs, but I know in worship, in my experience this last week, there is that opportunity. It's very helpful. So there was an overhead shot of a drummer, and he had made several videos for several of the songs I was learning.
Yeah. Because
I only had 8 hours or so to learn these songs, I needed visual help to figure out what was happening and how it was happening. So I could play.
And by the way, if you guys haven't done this already, you're lying.
Oh, yeah. Man, it's great.
I'm not discrediting you at all, Matt. You have every right to do this.
Yeah. Man, I actually liked it so much I commented on the guy, or I liked the guy's page. And I was like in the middle of practicing along with his video, and I got like a heart message back. I was like, it makes me feel good. Nice. I'm learning how to play this song because of you. Thank you. Yeah. I've done this for my own song. So I have nothing to lose by saying this and trying to relearn my own songs from a decade ago. I'm going to do it again because I have to learn Thrill Seeker.
How did I play this in 2001?
How did I do this? So anyway, I had this thought, and I want to talk about it. If you take away the drum parts, the drums, any percussive element altogether, is the song better? If it's not, build it with one instrument at a time until it's where it should be. I had this thought, and I used it last night at the service. It helped me play what I felt like was appropriate. Not identical to what the drummer had played on the track even. Because at times as we were playing, and if you're a church drummer, I'm preaching to the choir. Oftentimes, your musical director or your worship leader will talk back in your ears. Hey, let's go to chorus next. Okay, build into bridge. Okay, bring it down. And so you're on the fly, man. You're just going as he leads because he's following the Holy Spirit, hopefully, and the feel of the room. And in this case, last night, it was a funeral service. So you're really trying to gauge the 3 or 4 singers or vocalists on stage were family members of the deceased father. So he's trying to gauge their emotions. And so what is your litmus test? How do you be sensitive to all of this? I used a standard last night, which was, if I'm not playing at all, is the song better? Is this part better? I think it's better I not play at all here. Okay. It's just acoustic. It was acoustic bass and keys. Okay, I think here there should be some percussive elements. I think maybe some crash cymbals, maybe eighth note on ride. Yep, that's right. So better, I think I should keep building some toms. I think snare on the 4. Okay, and now I'm building up. Yeah. I contrasted what I was playing with the previous week, another funeral, where there was no drummer. And we played one of the same songs. It's called The Blessing. There's actually a hilarious meme of this song. It's my favorite meme of the year. It's sung by Carrie Job. And it's talking about the stimulus checks. And the meme says, stimulus checks 2020, who will pay for them? And the video and song in the background is Carrie Job singing, your children and their children and their children for 1,000 generations. And admittedly, last night, I did think about it. I always think about it whenever I hear this song. If you haven't seen the meme, you have to find it. It's the best meme of the year.
I haven't seen it, but you definitely explained it well. That was hilarious.
And so I had heard this song played last week with no drums, and it lacked something. It really did. Man, we get to play drums, and when you hear a song that doesn't have any, that you know there could be drums to take it to this level, and it just never gets there. Oh man, it's very rewarding to then be able to take the song there as that drummer. And that's exactly what we tried to do last night. But I use that as my standard. How would this song sound without drums? Take it until it's at the point where it should be, and then ask yourself the same question. What do you think about that?
Yeah. I think that's exactly right. That's how you should approach it. And it's definitely, I think worship is, at least in my experience, the best way to describe that, because you're going to be playing other people's songs, not as a cover band, quote unquote,
Sure.
but as you're leading worship for a congregation, and those are going to change. In fact, the worship team that I was a part of for a long time, we didn't have song structures. So we never played the song exactly the same. We never knew, are we playing this chorus twice this time, or are we playing it, and we basically were just all glued to the worship leader to see what's happening.
Exactly.
Where are we going from here? And it was always just being sensitive to what was happening in the room. Sometimes we'd even go into a completely different song's chorus, and we just had to be ready.
We did that.
We had our set list,
too.
and we're like, there's 20 songs here. We're only really playing 8 of them, but any one of these 20 could be within those 8 that we end up playing. And that was kind of our format. And it was really good for me as a drummer, and it was really good for me learning how to play with sensitivity and learning how to build parts. And thankfully worship music is often the same chords, same BPM. It was not extremely complicated to try to switch around, but you're right. It's sometimes the way that it was played in this worship service is not the way it should be played in this worship service. And I've seen Hillsong, I've seen Jesus Culture, and I haven't actually seen them play it the same way that they played it on the live album version.
True.
So it's usually different. There's usually different singers even that sing different parts.
That's true. It's such an anomaly. Worship music is such an anomaly. Like,
it is.
To your point about on a Sunday morning, you're not a cover band, and you're not playing for an audience who paid a ticket price to get in there, because they're not an audience, they're a congregation. There's
Right.
nothing like it in all of music.
It's true. It's true.
But I always feel honored. To play for church. I really do. I don't do it often. As it turns out, this was a funeral, but it's very timely, I think, with talking about sensitivity, because I was thinking the entire time, without really putting a word to it, how to be sensitive. There are people grieving in this room. There are people who have probably never heard drumming in this room. There were a lot of Amish Mennonite brother in there, very conservative denominations. And here you are you're banging these drums. Like, be careful. And then at the same time, you're going to offend some people. You're going to push the limits of some people. You gotta be careful
there, man. Drums are a sin. It says so somewhere.
Wow.
I'm just kidding.
I'm probably not going to heaven if that's the case. unless the good Lord is full of forgiveness.
Yeah, you're exactly right, though. One of the things that I love that my old worship leader used to say is that being on the worship team is not a right. If you go to church and you're a Christian, doesn't mean that you automatically have the right to be on this worship team. So it's not a right, it's a privilege. And I can't agree with that more. Being able to lead a group of people who love God in worship to God, the God, that's not something to take lightly. And it's so easy because it's music, because it's something that I do every day, because it's just playing drums. It's so easy to think of it that way.
Yeah, you have to separate them.
The same.
You really do.
Yeah.
And I'm not great
it's
at
not the same.
I'm not great at that. I know exactly what you're talking about, because this is what I do. It's sort of like saying you have to separate what you've always done with this brand new thing, but it's the same thing. You're still holding sticks. You're still hitting drums.
Right.
It's really the mindset. If you're listening to this and you're a church drummer, a lot of this probably resonates with you. If you're not a church drummer, this is a lot of new information.
Yeah.
But it's a reality that's all around us, whether or not you're in church or not. There are churches across the country and the world, and every in a lot of cases, Saturday night, Sunday morning, Sunday night, Monday night, there is a drummer playing in a worship band, and it's a good learning experience.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think so. I want to end off with this because for those of you who aren't worship drummers, I want there to be some kind of practical application. I think the best thing you can do for yourself, if you want to be sensitive or learn how to be sensitive to music, is to listen to all different types of music. I've said it before. I will continue to say it. If all you listen to is metal, that's not helping you.
Yeah.
In fact,
that's true.
August Burns Red developed in style, and I've had the pleasure of kind of hearing it develop. Yeah. I could tell when Matt started listening to Aaron Spears.
Yeah.
I could tell his drumming style. He adapted certain elements of that style of drumming.
That's true.
And and I'm sure it goes the same for
JB.
For the guitarists in the bands. Yeah, they all have different influences that they're pulling from, and that works its way into the writing. I know that's true for myself as a writer. The best thing you can do for yourself is just, surround yourself with different types of music. And I know, especially if you're looking to be a session musician, you need to be able to know what is the staple type of playing for a country song. What's the staple type of playing for a rock song? You need to know those things in order to be well-versed. And also just to, be able to figure out who you are,
True.
You're not just going to, if you're just listening to metal, you're going to probably be just another metal drummer. But if you're listening to all different things and you know what you like, you'll start to adapt these other styles of play, these different types of fills into your playing and become a little bit more unique in that way. So that's my advice for you. Hopefully this was informative and not just a whole confusing conversation. But it's huge. Sensitivity is a huge part of being a good drummer.
Yeah, and you have to be a good drummer to be sensitive.
That's true.
I think you have to be somewhat proficient at your instrument. Otherwise, everything is 10 out of 10 volume. Playing soft is hard for most people. Playing hard is hard for others. So you definitely have to develop your ability to play in a sensitive manner with the music and for a particular audience.
Yeah.
Legacy.
Cool. Good stuff. Legacy.
All right.
I am excited to hear what this even means.
Okay. 9 years ago, I was asked to play for the funeral of 3 kids that died in a car accident. It was a local happening, family friends of ours. I had grown up with the oldest of the kids. She was younger than me, but the younger siblings, 3 of them were the ones who passed away in this car accident. There were twin boys, 16 years old, I believe, and a girl who was, I believe, 11 or 12. It's been 9 years, so it's been a while. The one twin was a drummer, and I had talked with him about drumming and maybe had done a drum lesson at some point. So I heard about this happening, and I got a call to come over to the family's house. So I went over, and they're a very welcoming, very friendly family with basically an open door policy. So I wasn't intimidated to go. I just wasn't sure what I could say, would say. I mean, I didn't just want to be another person in the room with emotions.
Right.
There was no shortage of that at that point. So I went over there, and I was so surprised that there was there were emotions other than grief. There was grief, but there was this sense of joy knowing that their children were with Jesus. Christian family with very strong spiritual values. And so I talked to the dad, his name's Mark, and we talked for a little while, and he said, I'd like you to play drums at the memorial service, at the funeral service, you know. There are going to be a lot of people there, and it's going to be broadcasted on TV. We want to honor our children, and we feel like this is something that we should do because our one son was a drummer and we really love music. And so I thought, what in the world could I actually play that would be appropriate at a funeral service? And so I asked them, could I maybe speak a little bit beforehand as to not surprise people with just, here's a guy playing drums. Did the worship team forget to get up there? Like, you know, hey, your guy's playing. You guys get your guitar out here. And so I spoke for a little bit, and I remember exactly what I said. I looked straight out and I found my dad in the audience. There were several thousand people there. There were something like 10,000 people watching with the broadcast. And I said, a great man once said that the only semblance of order that we see in the world today is because of the hand of God. That great man is my dad. And I found him when I said that. And I talked about the kids, and then I said, I'm going to play a drum solo for them that I wrote for them to honor their lives. So I went back and I played. And afterwards, I went back in the green room at this church and I just started bawling. I didn't really know why, beyond the fact that I was just overwhelmed with this reality that these three kids were gone, and that for some reason, God had given me this gift of playing drums that was being used at a service to honor their lives. I just couldn't wrap my head around it. So new for me. I mean, it's just something you can't even prepare for. So what did I play? I was watching a lot of Steve Gadd. I wanted to play something that was almost like marching, military cadence. So I was watching actually some presidential funerals to see what cadence the drums were doing and find something that would work to create this somber sound and then go into a full-blown solo. And that's exactly what I did. So there's a famous drum trio video with Steve Gadd, Vinnie Colaiuta, and Dave Weckl. And Steve Gadd starts at this really powerful snare piece, and that's what I mimicked it. I mimicked that in my playing. Okay. So 3 kids die. Family moves on. I formed a bond with Mark. And it was because of that day. It was because of that day, because of that loss. Mark would say things to me that if anyone else said to me, I would just throw it out. Like, I don't really believe that. I don't believe the Holy Spirit works like that. I don't really believe Jesus would do that. I don't know that that's the right way to live your life. I don't know that that's the right thing to do with your money. I don't know that I could have that mentality as it pertains to you losing your kids. Like, all of these areas of life he would talk to me about. Tithing. He just had a different way of thinking about so much of this. But he always talked about faith with me and God. And as I said, if anyone else were to say the types of things, like if you were to say them to me, I would listen, but a part of me, you know what I mean, would just sort of discredit it. And I don't know. With Mark, it was never like that. What he was saying was absurd half the time. In my mind, up here, it was like, no. Yeah. But there was a credibility that was rooted in this bond that we had formed 9 years ago when he lost his 3 children. And so anything that he said was on the table for me. I at least was going to look at it, evaluate it, pray about it, write about it, question it, because this guy had a place to speak from that I believed in, especially after my divorce. When there's loss to that extent, there's credibility that is granted you, whether you know it or like it or not, and that what you say has just a little bit more grit to it because you survived something that a lot of people would not be able to survive. I wouldn't have been able to survive it. Losing 3 children and moving on and saying, I'm so glad that they're with, Jesus in heaven. This is just an amazing thing to look forward to. No way. Okay. So, I have a soccer league that meets every Tuesday night. We were playing soccer Tuesday. And Mark and I talked for about an hour about Job. about how there was a man who lived an upright life and he experienced hell on earth. And God essentially revealed to him, who are you to question me? Mark had that mentality. Mark fully believed that. Mark believed that he was God's and everything he had was God's. And that anytime he questions God, he screams at him. And then God quiets him by saying, who are you to question me? I am God.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Mark lives his life then in response to that. Mark started coming to soccer with us last fall. He passed away on Thursday morning. He was 54 years old. 2 days after we talked about Job. 9 years after he lost 3 children in a car accident. The legacy that this man built and leaves behind is something that makes me question what kind of life I'm living. Because this man had a reach that is far beyond anything I have in this community in Lancaster County. The amount of people at this funeral last night, the amount of people at the viewing, the amount of people at his house every day, the proficient businessmen and pastors and friends of 20, 30 years, 40 years, all his children and their spouses. And yet, everything that he did in business, successfully, unsuccessfully, he did in such a larger-than-life way. He went for it all the time. And what I didn't realize, and this is what I want to say about legacy, what I didn't know is that the conversations Mark was having with me, he was having with everybody else. I thought he was just having them with a few people that wouldn't run away when he said, I think God's telling me to say this to you. Or what do you think about this? I thought he was saying that to me because he knew that I wouldn't run away and I wasn't going to feel trapped and cornered, you know? Yeah. Guess what? Last night, there was probably 10 to 15 people spoke. And all of them said the same thing in different ways. Mark had talked to them exactly the same way he talked to me. And many of them didn't listen. Many of them could have stayed and had a decent conversation. They heard what he said, but they're just like, nah, that's too much for me. And they walked away.
Yeah.
And yet last night, half of them are grown men, businessmen in the car industry, probably never been in church, and they're sitting there bawling their eyes out because of this man's legacy. That's why they showed up. Yeah. So all the money, all the accomplishments, all the assets, all the friends, all the hunting trips, this guy lived life full bore. And those things were mentioned in passing, but they were shadowed by the overwhelming messaging that is, Mark believed in a God who is good. And he fulfilled his assignment on earth, and he's with his kids. Because of the way Mark lived his life, I want to reevaluate my faith in God. I want to question what God is saying to me. That's what he left behind. That's what he left behind in the hearts and minds of thousands of people here in town, in this county, in this state. There were people streaming in from Germany. Yeah, what did his dad say? Germany, Montana, Idaho. There were people, tuning into the service. And so I think it's something that we need to look at because we busy ourselves with so much, and there's nothing wrong with being busy so long as we're busy doing the right kinds of things that actually matter. Because as it turns out, it seems like Mark spent an exorbitant amount of time being busy doing the things that mattered. Even when they were conversations were probably so awkward conversations with people who had never even heard about God talked about the way that he was talking about him. I mean, if it made me half run away some of the time, I can't imagine what it did some of these car guys at the Manheim Auto Auction. And you know, like, hey, what has God been saying to you recently? Huh? Yeah, what's God been putting on your heart? Nothing? Well, I've just really been praying for you. I really love you, man. I really care about you, and I really want to help you. Hey, is your driveway is not real straight, right? It's kind of a pain in the butt to get in and out of. Do you know how to run a truck? Yeah. Okay. End the conversation. Week later, hey, it's Mark. I loaded up my track hoe on my trailer. I'm bringing it up. We're going to straighten out your driveway. Dude shows up, spends all day straightening out his driveway, making his life a little bit better. Changed the guy's life. He spoke last night at the funeral. Didn't even really know Mark. And no one had ever heard that story before either.
Wow.
So the legacy that we leave behind is oftentimes, I think, the conversations we have that no one ever knows about. In fact, the conversations we think we're the only ones having with that person. But in fact, they're happening all the time with everybody else. And even if it lands with 50% of people, it's worth a risk. Yeah. Because if we really believe it, if we really believe in God and our faith and the Bible and what Jesus did for us on the cross, then we have to be willing to live a life that reflects that kind of love that goes out of its way, inconveniences us and maybe sometimes other people, so that our legacy is one that points people towards him and celebrating our life, even when it's over. The credibility that Mark has, even though he's dead, is unbelievable because of the way he lived his life. What kind of legacy are we leaving behind? The life that we live is creating a legacy. Is it one that we are proud of and we feel like will be lasting? Or is it one that will just sort of fade out? Go.
Wow, thanks for that.
You're welcome.
No, but seriously, that was... I feel like we could end the conversation right there, but I will add something.
I know your gears are turning.
That was incredible.
I know your gears are turning.
Yeah, my gears are turning. My gears are turning. So I'm glad you spurred this on because so just last night I actually I had a sales presentation yesterday evening, and it was for a fire department. So for those of you that don't know, I work in marketing. I'm an account manager. I do quite a bit of selling as well. And so we were doing this presentation for this fire department. The first thing we did was ask, there was 4 board members present. We asked all 4 of them, what was it that made you want to be a fireman? It was, so their goal was to recruit more firemen. They're, running sparse. It is a volunteer position. It's tough to get people motivated. And going into this, I was like, well, what little kid didn't want to be a fireman at some point? Like, you see the fire trucks going by and you're fascinated and, you want a fireman's costume and you want to wear the hat and you want to see the fire truck, you want to hold the hose. What little kid didn't want to do that? I was like, this is going to be a piece of cake. But the thing is,
that's true. When you put it like that,
there's a lot of variables. I was thinking, I come from a place of storytelling, of creativity, and I'm just like, I could have a blast with this. This is a piece of cake for me. When we were talking to them, the thing that they all had in common, the reason why they wanted to be firemen, was because they wanted to make a difference. Most of them, some of them got in early. They were like 16, 17, 18 when they started. But like a lot of these guys, they come in because they want to get in shape. or they want to, they want to be firemen, but they have a family and they can't be on call, so they come they come in to help in some way. But every single one had the same reason: they wanted to make a difference. They wanted to do something for their community and be better people. They wanted to make a difference. And I was thinking, if there's one thing that we as humans have in common, and this is my marketing wheels spinning, but I think it really applies to this conversation. In my mind, I was like, all right, forget about everyone wanting to be a fireman when they were kids, the awe and wonder of fire trucks and Dalmatians and whatever. Forget about that. Everybody wants to make a difference. Everybody wants to leave a legacy. That's how we're going to market this thing. So great. With that being said, with that as my little story, I think it's true. If there's one innate thing that we all have in common, at least for the most part, it's that we want to be remembered. We want to live. We want to leave a legacy. We want to do something big. We want to make a difference. I mean, the reason why Marvel and DC make millions and millions of dollars is because they sell superheroes. They sell heroes. And there's something innate in us that's like, I want to be a hero. I want to make a difference. I want to be remembered. It's not about the flashy fame. It's about the heroism. It's about the making a difference, saving people's lives. There's something in us that we want to do that.
Speaking of heroes, it's my dad's birthday, and I just got this in the mail from Shutterfly.
No way. Oh, yeah, that's incredible. Happy birthday to your dad.
Happy birthday, Dad. He doesn't listen to this, but I'll make him listen to this episode.
Yeah. Just like an hour into the episode, just have him start. Forward. Happy birthday, Mr. Griner, if you're listening.
Absolutely. And if you're listening and not so cool. looking, I just held up a mouse pad that said "Heroes have your back," and it's a good memory my dad and I have together. We went to a I don't know if it was like a farm show, field day, farm equipment demo, but there's a big John Deere tractor behind us, and I was like, Dad, come here, we'll take a selfie. He knew what it was.
I think you had posted that picture. You posted that picture on social media, and I think it got more engagement than most of them videos.
That's usually how
people
it works.
love your dad.
Yeah, man. You're in the business of telling stories. I think that if I was building a company, I'd want you to be the one behind it, because instead of someone who just might know drumming or might know the drum audience or the drum world or whatever business it was, because you need to tell a story. That's one thing I found on my Instagram is like, I used to hold back and maybe just highlight one area of my life that I thought people cared about. And then I don't know how long ago it was, I just started posting stuff that I actually cared about in addition to just drumming and a well-rounded view. And it was like, oh wait, people really like a full-blown story. They're drawn to what's real. And to your point about the firefighters, I think that will be a successful campaign. And I think, to my point about Mark, he was real. He really believed in what he said. And half the time it sounded crazy to me, but deep down I knew that it was at least worth looking into. Now that he's gone, it makes me reevaluate it all over and over again. And what I mean by that is, where do I stand? What's my relationship with God? Am I building a relationship with him, or is it one that's just sort of there when it's convenient? For Mark, there was not, the word convenient wasn't a part of his spiritual vocabulary. And I think that we need to look at that, because if we're sitting pretty, if it's convenient, is it really pushing us? I had a conversation with this about this the other day. I don't think we talked about this or not, Tim, but whether or not you agree with wearing masks, the evangelical westernized world talks a lot about the cost of Christianity. I don't see much of a cost. wearing a mask might be costly in your mind. It might also...
Careful, Matt. We might lose some listeners here.
It might also be the first cost.
Go for it. Bring it on.
But seriously, think about that. Take away the idea of mask or no mask or whatever political stance or whatever your church might look like. Think about yourself in the westernized world as an evangelical Christian. I would offer the sentiment that we say there is a cost to Christianity. We can all agree it's a biblical mandate that to be a Christian is costly, right? I mean, it costs us. I don't see much of a cost in the westernized world. I actually see more convenience. I see more opportunity. And that bothers me because it means that we're not getting something that we're supposed to be. And when I see something that's so politicized like COVID-19, but yet so hurtful to a lot of people, I think, can't we look at the most important verse in the Bible, debatably, in my mind, I shouldn't say it like that, to love our neighbor, to love God and to love our neighbor. And this is an opportunity to do that. And it might feel costly. And to other people who agree with wearing masks all the time, you sort of laugh at that and say costly. Well, if that's not costly, find another way. But it should be costly. To Mark, it was costly. And that's his legacy. The fact that he spent time having conversations he would not have had to have. He could have been out making money, buying cars, doing this, that, and the third. But he was not doing that because of a conversation about something that seemed kind of crazy to the person listening. That's costly to his reputation, to his profit margins, to just his life in general. And yet he did it all the time. And at his funeral, I think that there were people like me thinking maybe they were the only one that had a conversation like that and it was special and unique and different. And they realized, oh my gosh, it's a room full of people who had conversations with this guy. And they were all like mine.
Yeah. Okay, so here it is. I'm driving it home. First off, if you're a Christian and you think that wearing a mask is a form of persecution, please, please reevaluate your idea of Christianity. Please.
No kidding.
I'm going to throw that out there right now. If I hear one more Christian saying, we're being persecuted because you have to wear masks, I will flip the shit.
I would love to see that.
I am so sick of it. But on top of that, to wrap this topic up, because I think this was really an incredible conversation, my wheels are turning not because I have more to say, but because I have more to process, more to think about, more to reevaluate, really. So what I want us all to do is I want us to think of a person or some people, and whether you believe in Jesus or not, this is something I want you to do. Think of a person or some people that you think live a legacy or lived a legacy. I know, Matt, for you, it's Mark, it's your dad. I'm sure you have a number of others that come to mind when you think about this. I have a bunch of people in my mind. Think of someone who, if they died today, they would be remembered and they live
I like that.
a legacy. And then look at yourself, look at your own life and say, how can I be a little bit more like those people? What would it take for me to be remembered? I mean, that's not what it's all about. Life isn't about being remembered. It's not about leaving a legacy. But I will say that the people who live lives with that in mind, or the people that live lives that do leave legacies, are the most impactful, and they're doing the most for the world. And that is something good. That is something we're supposed to be doing. That's something we're called to do. Like Matt said, love your neighbor. You want to leave a legacy? Start there.
Yeah, right. Start there.
So think of some people, break down the characteristics of these people that you hold in high regard, the people that you'll remember for the rest of your life. Break down their characteristics and measure them against your own characteristics. Do I look like these people? Do I treat others like these people treat others? will people remember me if I died right now, if I died today? Because I have to question that. I have to wonder, will my name just disappear? Have I made a difference in people's lives? So that's something I'm going to be doing, because I think I can, regardless of where I'm at in my path of legacy, regardless of where I stand there, thinking about these things, reflecting on these things, and implementing these things will make me a better person. And that's worth it for me. So hopefully it's worth it to you guys too.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And just in closing, I'll say this about Mark. I'm really going to miss him. And I didn't agree with everything that he did or said. What I learned from him and will try to implement is his way of thinking about life. It wasn't about today for Mark. It was not about even this year for Mark. It was about this life being one blip on a really long, you've seen that picture being used. We have a really long rope and you have this little red dot right in the middle, and that's life. Mark had this perspective that was true. That little red dot is his life here on earth, and there was all the space afterwards, which as Christians we're told is what happens when we die. Heaven, the afterlife. Mark lived his life with that perspective. I think we could use a little bit more of that instead of losing our minds about what's happening today and this week and this year, especially in 2020. A lot of chaos and panic and anxiety. Just thinking long term with a larger mindset than just how is this affecting me now? And more so thinking, who is this making me into? So I hope you guys enjoyed thinking about that, and hopefully you'll take that thought and start to let it seep into your everyday in a way that little things start to change here and there that maybe you're not even aware of. But I think it starts in your heart. If that's weird to think about, just for me, when I think about who I am, it's what I do when no one's around and there's no one to showcase how I'm living my life. That's who I am. That's my heart. So at the end of the day, am I still writing down in that 1-page diary? Okay, good. Am I saying a little prayer in the morning? Am I doing something for someone that no one else knows about? Those are the things I think that really make us who we are. And so you'll start to see some changes in those areas if this has impacted you in any way.
Yeah, absolutely. That's good stuff, man. So if you're listening to this and you have more you'd like to add, or you have questions or comments or anything, you can hit us up at Matt and Tim at theholyghostnotes.com if you want to email us, or at Holy Ghost Notes on Instagram. We love talking to you guys. Feel free to comment, send us a message. We love it. In addition, I keep hearing from people that we are not asking for ratings enough. So if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, drop us a rating and maybe a review as well. It apparently helps a lot more than we can see. So if you could do that, please, that would be That's fantastic. That's what we're told. So here it is. We're gonna ask. We had some cool stuff happen on the Inner Circle this month. We have Jonathan Thomas, JT, the man. He did some drum lessons for our Inner Circle. So if you guys are interested in supporting the podcast and getting some cool stuff in return, check out patreon.com/Holy Ghost Notes. The double tier, which is the second tier and above, all get immediate access to our drum lesson library, which has drum lessons now from Jonathan Thomas and from Adam Gray. We have new lessons each month. And it also gives you immediate access to our incredible community group. So if you're interested, check that out. Other than that, use hashtag Holy Ghost Notes on your drum videos.
And the top two tiers get access to MacRiderLessons.com. I just released Blood Letter.
That's right.
Which is a newer song off Guardians, our newest record. And the contest giveaway for this month is a Griner Kilmer 14-inch maple stave snare drum. So every month we do a giveaway for the best hashtag I play submission. Yep. Last month it was Kevin Corcoran. The month before that was Zach Inch.
Congrats, Kevin.
And Zach won a Zildjian cymbal, and Kevin won a pair of Ultimate Ears, which were originally donated to Beating Drums to Battle Cancer by Ultimate Ears, and then donated back to me. And then Ultimate Ears said, you should use them for your subscription website. And I said, great. So
nice. That's the way to go. Yeah, and Zach and Kevin have both been featured on our page because they use the hashtag Holy Ghost Notes.
Very talented drummers. Check them out.
There. Yeah. Yep. Definitely check them out. And yeah, Triplet and Ghost Note tiers get immediate access to MacGrinderLessons.com. So that's pretty sweet.
Good stuff, man.
I think that only, actually, in regards to the Inner Circle, I do have one quick shout out. Shout out to Daniel McIntyre. Welcome to the Inner Circle. Thank you for your support. Good to have you, man. Looking forward to getting to know you. Now we only have one thing left to do.
And I can't recall for the life of me. I think I got it. 1, 2, 3.
Say with us.
Peace.